Okay, here's my first attempt at a sinew back bow coming along. What I did is I heat tempered the belly, and at the same time I put a little recurve into it, quite a bit actually. The tempering really stiffened the bow up. I can feel it's a lot stiffer than it was before I tempered it. I also recurved the tips a little bit. If you look right there, there's a short one. There's the long one there. And this long one, I'm going to put some decoration on it eventually. And the reason I recurved them is it's such a short bow that it's going to have to bend a lot for me to get a comfortable draw off of it to shoot. So that means the tips will have to bend quite a bit and come back quite a bit. So with these, if it was just a straight tip, the string would slip off pretty easily. When I recurve it, it'll help keep the string on and give me that much more of an angle on the tips before the string's going to want to come off. Another thing I did is I went and took along the whole back. The back of the bow was darker in color before I started. I took some 80 grit sandpaper and I went one direction diagonally across the bow, like that. And then after I was done with that, I went along again and went the other direction. So what I have is little X's up and down the bow. And if you put that under magnification, you'd see these little wood fibers sticking up everywhere. And that's what allows the glue to hold onto the back and the sinew to hold onto the glue so it doesn't come off. And what else the sanding does is I should probably use this again, is it gets the oils off. Probably most important, it gets the oils off. So, that's not interfering with the adhesion either. And I was using this to keep my fingers from getting more oil on it. And what I'm going to do now is I'll just wipe it off, make sure I get any dust off. And then here, I have a pot of sinew glue that I started the other day. Well, hide and sinew glue. And I'm going to size it with that glue, which means I'm going to take my, my paintbrush here that I have and put a coating or 2 or 3 on the back. What I just learned on Paleo Planet when I asked a question was that that the best thing to do with the glue is to thin it with water. And I've never done that before. I've never used hide glue, but I've used other glues and never thinned it when I back bows with rawhide. Now I used hide glue because this is my first sinew back bow and it's supposed to work best with it. But it makes sense to me that if I thin it, it'll penetrate the wood better. And I'll give it like I said, a couple, 3, 4 coats to make sure the penetration's complete. And then I'll come back and I'll apply the sinew. So far so good. See how it goes. Alright, I got my bow sanded down. Well, not a bow yet, my stave sanded down. The back all nice and clean, all my oils from my hand from handling it are gone. My hide glue, it was gelled, then I froze it. Now I put it on some heat and it's back to just like a thick water again. So on Paleo Planet, somebody mentioned that they want a good ratio of glue was 10 to 1. 10 parts water to 1 part glue. It's just, that seems a little, I've never done it before, so I'm sure they're right, but I'm going to start out with my first bow doing a 5 to 1 for my size and coat. And if I have any issues, then I'll go 10 to 1. If I have any issues, then I'll try without diluting it at all. So what I'm going to do here is, this is my empty cup. I'll take this is a tablespoon. I'll dip it into the goodies there. I'll just do that, so I got a full tablespoon. There's one. And then what I have here is some hot water. And I'll do 5 of these. And it'll give me my ratio of 5 to 1. I'll mix it up. And none of those are all full, so I'll give this another one just to make sure that the teaspoons are full there. See, it's still dark in color. You can't see, it's a little lighter. But here's my paintbrush. What I did at the table here is I got the old table protectors out and an old piece of cloth. So hopefully that'll be enough and I won't get any on the table or anything. So I got this, like I said, sanded down, dusted off, and now I'm ready for this. and it's still nice and warm, and you can see it's a little thicker than water. Not much. So what I'll do is I'll start with my first coat here. Put it on pretty good, and with sanding this, you can't see it on the camera, but from sanding it, it opens the pores of the wood, and it allows that penetration. You can see the glue getting sucked into the wood here. You know, from my perspective up close, so you know it's getting penetration. And the reason that you size the back of the bow first is that, let's say that you didn't, but you sanded it and you got it all ready for a backing. Well, if you don't size it, what's going to happen is your wood, your stave will soak up all that glue into the wood, and won't leave any left to glue down what you're trying to glue down. You know, like a rawhide backing or a sinew backing. All the glue will go in the wood, and you'll have a weak back. And you don't want that. So what this does, it just prevents that. Another thing I'm going to do with this bow is the sinew is going to come down over the end like this and come down and end here somewhere. And I'm going to have a wrapping of sinew around the end and around the knock a little. So what I want to do when I'm sizing this is I want to size the back too. Just a little bit around the ends. Make sure the tip's got a good coating. But I don't want to go down here because I'm going to have to touch up the tiller on this bow. And I'm just going to be, you know, adjusting it anyway. So I might have to take some of that off. So now what I'll do is I'll let this first coat dry completely, and then I'll come back and do it, you know, two, three more times, and I'll do it where I touched it there. Again. So yeah, so the bow is sized, and like I said, I'll repeat this step a few times. Glue's good. I can feel my hands getting all sticky. So, do this a few more times, and then I'll do the sinew backing. And what I'm going to do with this glue is I'm going to let this gel up again. And I forgot a long time ago in a book I read that you can take it, and just like Jello, after it gels up, take it and cut it into squares, little pieces of squares. Ideally in, you know, just the size that you need to get back a bow with the amount of glue you have. But also lets the glue dry up nicer, and you know, it's easier for a little square glue to dry up than a big old pot of glue. So that's what I'm going to do after this gels up. Cut it up into pieces, take it apart, let it dry in these little squares, and then that'll allow you to store it in the squares until you want to use it, so that'll make it nice and convenient.